Hey everybody, my name is John DePietro.
And I'm Bob Zagami with the Camper Report Show.
And on this Camper Report show, we talk with the tax queen, Heather Ryan. She's got some RVing tax tips, say that 5 times fast, that you need to be aware of all year long. How about you?
She's always a great guest, good information. I've got Terry Broussard, who is with Spot2Nite, who's just received some major funding to expand the program. We'll be talking to Terry, and it's a great thing for all campers to know about.
Spots and taxes tonight, right here. Where, Bob?
On the Camper Report Show.
Stay with us, everyone. And welcome back to the Camp Report Show. My name is John DePietro. His name is Bob Zagami. We've got the news for you. And Bob, let's start right off with national media. This past weekend, we saw the kickoff, one of the several unofficial kickoffs to the RVing season. And Mike Claudel, who is the spokesmodel, if you will, for Go RVing, appear on Fox and Friends. I know you were watching that show intently.
Yeah, we got advanced word that it was coming on, and this is their kickoff to the Go RVing campaigns for camping season. And Mike, of course, being the brand ambassador, he spearheaded this, but they were on and they showcased a Keystone Cougar travel trailer and the Winnebago Solus 59 XP with the rooftop that goes up, which is one of their very popular Class B motorhomes. And they talked about all the advantages of RVing and camping and the family explorations. They had great shots on the inside, got tremendous amount of coverage. It's always a big part of it. The challenge always from a standpoint of Fox and Friends and the Go RVing campaign, and you know yourself from your own live television experiences, if something else happens, the timing, you go through the whole process and not be there. But it was flawless this year. And, they have to set those RVs up at 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning and get everything going. But kudos to Go RVing with the constant advertising and marketing outreach for camping in the RV industry. Mike did a great job. All of the hosts, Pete Hicks that was on.
Yeah, the lady with all the kids.
Right, with 9 kids. She needs a big camper.
I know she needs the big one. She needs
Will,
more than bunk. She needs triple bunks.
And Will Kane and the Rick Reichert, the weather genius down there. But camping is coming, and camping is almost here.
The one rumor that I heard about that setup is that if you noticed, even though they were in the middle of New York City, they had a lot of green grass in front of those campsites. And I understand that they enlisted the help of Kevin Horkey from Cougar to install that grass.
He was there. I think he was there at midnight laying out those rolls. Now, it may have been fake grass, but it sure looks like a great camping site. Got the kids, got the fake campfire, got your campers ready to go. But it got people really excited, and I enjoyed it as other people, as the messages and text messages kept flying back and forth all weekend. And we posted,
I think Monica's daughter made her debut.
Yep,
that as well.
Yeah.
So one place that you don't have to rely on fake grass is the national parks. And our friends at RV Share have come up with an interesting marketing opportunity that when you rent a unit from an RV Share participant, you'll get camping up to 3 nights at a national park. An interesting marketing idea, isn't it?
It really was. I had to really look at this one and say, who is the genius that picked this up? But RV Share is one of the largest peer-to-peer networks where people who own RVs put them out for rentals, kind of like an Airbnb. And RV Share is very creative. They got the winnings up to about $500,000 on this program to provide national and state park passes, which are cherished by many people and sometimes very difficult to get. So they had done a survey. They found out that 2/3 of their renters are facing economic factors that already hindered their summer travel. So they decided to explore. The program is called Explore America Parks to help ensure that people can get out there and help lessen the burden on them and get people out to see this wonderful country. And there's been tremendous interest in the national parks over the last, well, certainly since COVID. People felt that it was a great place to recreate without, sitting on top of a bunch of other people. But I'm
Yeah,
I'm excited about
exactly.
the program. Encourage
Yeah.
people to check it out. Yep.
Yeah, there is some fine print in that. You have to reserve by May 31st and you have to travel by September 5th. But, and from what I understand, you make your own reservation and then you get reimbursed for it. So it looks like a pretty good program from our friends at RV Share.
And
And
also one thing, a lot of the people who rent their RVs through these programs have arrangements where they will deliver the RV to the campground.
yep,
And that's a big factor. So people who want to do RVing, but they question how do they get to these places. So we're doing a lot more education as an industry, but you can simply rent from RV Share, have it at the campground, and show up. And
yep.
that's true of any campground or any tourist attraction. If you want to go to Disney World, that's true. You can rent it and they'll set it up at Fort Wilderness for you. So it's a good benefit to get people to try RVing.
Plus, it eliminates the situation where you have to get the RV from the owner to the campground and you don't have to drive it. You don't have to have a trailer hitch. You don't have to have an SUV, but you want to enjoy the RVing experience. And the RVing experience, as our friend Jim Rogers from long ago at KOA said, the magic of camping is in the campfire. And you know what? That really is where it's all at. So, and
Right. That
speaking of
drives
camping,
that drives it all. You're right. Yeah.
speaking of camping, that word camp, Campers Inn is a large national, one of the largest family-owned dealerships with 37 locations throughout the country, primarily on the East Coast. But you know that phrase, everything old is new again. Well, Campers Inn is opening another location right in New Hampshire where they started the business many, many years ago. So talk a little bit about the new location and the third generation that will be managing that store.
Right, correct. They were started in 1966 by Fran and Art Hirsch on their front lawn of their home in Acton, Mass. Now, Nashua was their second location, and that was when Jeff Hirsch, their son, convinced his dad that they should open up a second location in New Hampshire. And I think his dad thought he was crazy. This is 1966. This wasn't the boom time for the RV industry. But Jeff was so convinced that they had to spread their wings and move out to other areas. He was the one that drove the first location in New Hampshire. And then when he took over the country, he's responsible, and his team is responsible for what is now the 37th location in Chichester, New Hampshire. So they're coming back to their roots in New England and building up some additional places here. And Aaron Hirsch, Jeff's son, to your point, is the third generation leadership of the company. And this is going to be his first general manager assignment. And they should be having an open house there in Chichester. The last post I saw this morning was within a couple of weeks, the inventory has started to arrive and they're putting it on the lot. And we're all looking forward to number 37 right here in New Hampshire.
So we'll have to take a run up there that weekend and enjoy some of the free hot dogs.
Yep.
Or something like that. You know what? And our last news thing, and I know we're going to hear more about that in our feature today, is Spot2Nite. A lot of new money was put into this reservation program because people are looking online for everything now. And this new program certainly will allow state-of-the-art technology to go into making your RV reservation.
Yeah, I'm going to interview Terry Broussard, who's one of the principals. And, they started very slow, very methodically. They had a good game plan. They built organically to get people engaged in it. And now they've attracted outside interest. They just raised $3 million. And I think the best way to describe it, I'll have to ask Terry if I'm correct, but it's really kind of hotels.com for campgrounds. So you can go on the site and they link. Their key is they don't compete with anybody, which is wonderful because it could be, I don't know if KOA and Jellystone are connected to it, but private campgrounds can sign up with this. And they are live into their reservation system. So when you're traveling around the road, down the road, and you want a place to stay, You go into the system, you tell them where you think you want to stay. They will tell you which campgrounds have openings. And just think about the advantage of the consumer with something like this. Because years ago, you could drive down the highway, open up your trailer life directory, pick out a campground, call them up, and get a campsite. That's not necessarily true right now.
Right.
You
Well,
know,
Bob, the name really says it all. It says Spot2Nite.
Right.
It doesn't say spot next week, and it doesn't say spot this summer. It says Spot2Nite. And so many campers that I know are spontaneous people that for one reason or another, they don't want to reserve months in advance to be held to a certain time frame. And what this program allows you to do is, stay at a place maybe for longer than you expected, and then move on and say, hey, wait a minute, there's something right here. Let's check to see what's local. And what? That looks pretty cool.
Here's the other benefit, and you mention this all the time, because we know that RVers get flat tires, get delayed, get tired, can't drive. Yeah. And you always tell people, even though the computer says no, or you called last week and they said no, today again, there's going to be a cancellation. Now, this makes it so that you only make one call, not 10, to try to find that cancellation, because it's automatically live in their systems and connected to their software, that if they get a cancellation at 10 o'clock in the morning, at 10:01, it is in the Spot2Nite system. Right. One phone call does it all. Yep. That's a catchy term.
You know what? Somebody should.
I think somebody used that one time.
One call does it all. And you know what? About one call does it all. One place does it all, where you can find out all about your RV and camping needs. And tell us about our friends at
RV Business with Rick Kessler and Ben Quiggle at Woodall's Campground Magazine. They've got all the information that you want about this industry, both from the RV standpoint and the outdoor hospitality standpoint.
And that's what we do every week. Before we get our news, we go to RV Business in Woodall's. So
right.
We've got a great show tonight, folks. Stay with us right here. Where, Bob?
On the Camper Report Show.
Mike here from RV Blogger. Don't waste hundreds of dollars on an external GPS for your RV. All you need to do is download the RV Life app right onto your phone. This app is so cool. It has RV GPS built right into it. So you can load all the specific measurements and weights for your RV. It'll give you directions safe for your RV to follow. And by the way, if you have RV Trip Wizard, directions for your trips upload into this GPS automatically.
All right, welcome back, everybody, to the Camper Report Show. And my special guest today is Terry Broussard, CEO, actually, of Spot2Nite. And I'm glad you put the logo up there, Terry, because people are going to see this more and more. I think this is one of the most creative things that we've had in the RV and the outdoor industry for years. And we interviewed you 2 years ago when you were getting this thing going. But you've done a lot of homework. You've done a lot of building, and you just recently had a round of Series A money and $3 million coming into the company. Tell us how you started it, who you are, and what's so great about Spot2Nite. And it's okay to talk about yourself in nice terms.
Okay, well, thanks, Bob, for having us again on the show. And yes, we've come a long way since we last spoke over 2 years ago. Just to kind of refresh and zoom people right up to us. About 3 years ago, my son-in-law and I were literally standing on the side of the camper because we're not travel tycoons by any means. We're campers. And he said, let's go somewhere. I said, when? And he said, tonight. I handed him the phone and said, here, try to find a spot. I'm going to go disconnect cables and load it up. And pretty much from that, oh my gosh, there's no easy way to do this, to fast forward to now, we really, I think, cracked the code on developing the easy button for millions of travelers to look, book, and go, as we say in Spot2Nite.
It is relative. It is so simple. It's one of those things that you wonder why somebody didn't do it before. But the fact of the matter is, it's very complicated behind the scenes. It's just one of those things where there's a tremendous engine and people behind it, but the people who use it, it's so simplistic.
Yeah, I think I could certainly tell people I understand why it wasn't done before, because there are many campgrounds that do reservations on sticky notes. And it's very hard to integrate sticky notes to an iPhone or a website. And so once we had a firm understanding of the whole background of reservation systems and what it took to automate that and deliver that. And as we said earlier, if you imagine the reservation requests coming to us from the traveler, trickling into a bunch of computer code, going up against multiple reservation systems, and then serving up that collection of spots that say that Bob has a 20-foot trailer, he needs 30 amp water, sewer, and maybe a water view or bocce ball court for this weekend. Give them to me. I don't want to have to call people. I don't have to wait for parks to call me back. I want it to be automatic, look, book, and go. And that's what we created. And that was the technology. And that's why it probably wasn't done before. It's extremely, extremely complex on the back end. And then, of course, getting parks to sign up and accept that as the place that travelers will now come to them by.
You know, when I look at it, Terry, it's a lot of people will say to the other campers, they'll say, well, you know, you should always just call in the morning because campgrounds always have cancellations. So, you know, even though they told you last week they didn't have any, you call today and they might do that. Well, that's fine. But are you going to do it for 20 or 30 campgrounds? Or are you going to pull out your phone, click on Spot2Nite, put in your criteria, tell it what filters you want, and then you get your list of all your availability. One phone call, not even a phone call, online, like you say, look, book, and go. I think it's a great tactic.
Well, and certainly back in the day, you know, when you didn't have so many people that were traveling, that might have been the logic. Plus, we actually had people that were focused on a telephone center type operation. But you certainly know from your connections with the New England, you know, the RV Dealers Association, the numbers of RVs that are produced. The sales have been extremely well. And they all need a spot, right? Everybody's looking for a spot. So while it might be easy to find a spot on a Wednesday night somewhere, it's not the case when there's only 52 weekends out of the year and the weekend travelers are also looking. So it's really fun to go to, you know, spot the number 2nite.com like our logo has. And just if you're curious about what's in your area, go down to the bottom where it has RV parks in North America. It'll open up, pick up your state, and just take a look at that. And it'll show you what's available. And if you don't have a camper yet and you're thinking about renting one, just put in what you would be renting. How big do you need for your family? And just load that in there for a what if scenario. And it's really quite fun. I really enjoy doing that. I send that those links out quite a bit.
Yep. You know, one of the things that when you look at timing is everything in any kind of a business. But the biggest complaint that we see online now from RVers, because we've sold so many, almost, you know, 500,000, almost 1 million in the last 3 years, is they say, well, it's crowded out there and I can't find it. And you're hearing these complaints from veteran RVers like yourself, like myself. I've been out there for 40 years, you know, camping. They say, I can't find a spot. It's too difficult. The campgrounds are crowded. And that can scare people away from buying an RV, number one, or going to a campground. But you've solved all of that because you've given them the solution to say, here's where the campgrounds are. So this is a big boost for the campground industry, certainly. And you're agnostic in terms of the campground reservation systems. The other challenge, you mentioned it in your trickle-down searching criteria there, is that there are a lot of campground reservation systems. When I go to the trade shows or I read Woodall's Campground magazine with Ben Quiggle, I mean, I'm always amazed at the number of ads for campground reservations. You'd say, wait a minute, after all these years we've had campgrounds, you know, one or two of them haven't come to the top of the pile? No. And I mean, you deal with all of them, but there must be so many. But that's the key to your success, that these people will sign up and get into the system.
Absolutely. And we did the same thing when we were doing our homework to start. We were kind of overwhelmed, you know, at the number of campground reservation systems that were out there. So we looked at those that really had an extremely high rating on the technology side, and it could possibly had an open architecture that we could code to. And that's how we ended up picking our partners. And now we're up to, well, soon we'll be having our 10th integration. But literally one night I'm on the phone developing the URL and buying that from GoDaddy.com, domain name. And the next night I'm calling Australia and buying a developer kit for the first system, which was RMS Cloud. And they were our very first partners and remain partners to this day. Very good partner, rock solid development. And from there, it was Checkfront, NewBook, ResNexus, RoverPass, Stylus, MySites, and soon the Good Sam Campground Solutions. Of course, we're connected through that. So all of those are in development, and many more coming down the pipe that we'll be announcing, again, all in due time. Right now, we're on course on a pathway to have over 1,000 parks in the app by the summer. And if you multiply that by an average of 125 spots, and again, only campground spots right now, but we are going to be turning on the other accommodation types very soon. That will be cabins and yurts and whatnot. The numbers are staggering. So you will be able to find a spot in Spot2Nite.
Yeah, and once you get into the other categories, you don't even have to own an RV. You can go, they'll have rental cabins, they'll have park model rentals, they'll have the Conestoga wagons, they'll have yurts. So you'll even be able to go into that even if you don't own an RV and say, I want to go camping. So I want to go find somebody's going to rent me a park model for a week.
Correct. And for the viewing audience, for us, it was about building those highways, right? We have to get you into the mindset of using the web-based or the Android or iOS version to looking for something, and the most simplest thing and the busiest thing to find, hardest thing to find, was an RV spot. And now that we've built those highways, then we're starting to build more. So your users will go to the website and they'll see the new cart feature. So you can actually plot your trip in the cart basket, and we'll see the reservations are coming in now, just like a shopping cart. And so we really are creating that, if I would say, the Amazon experience. So whether you're, buying a 3/4 inch bolts to a leather jacket, it's all the same experience in that Amazon cart. And that's kind of the same experience here that we're all looking to provide you. If you're traveling by yourself and as you're moving to get to see your family, and then when you go to see your family, you want to add in at that campground maybe a cabin to put your mom in and dad when they come over to visit you. Now you have your cabin there, and then as you move away from them, you don't need the cabin again, at the next campgrounds. And so you can work your way down, expand your availability there, more cabins you want to throw in, other types of accommodations while you're in that area where your friends are, and then you're done visiting there and you're moving on. And that's the whole vision that we have.
All right. Our guest this morning is Terry Broussard, CEO of Spot2Nite. You see it up in the left-hand corner there, Spot2Nite.com. Before I let you go, Terry, two things. How do the consumers find you, and how do they sign up? And how do the campgrounds find you? And what should consumers do to find a Spot2Nite? And what should campgrounds do to make damn sure that they're on that list and that they're on that site?
Easy enough. So the first thing is everybody can go to Spot2Nite.com, go to the website, and they will actually see our main startup page right there. So the consumers can actually build their profile, because for our secret sauce to work, we have to know what they're looking to place. So if they whatever their vehicle is or their camper, they have to tell us what size square to fit into the campground, right? And what they need. So, and if they're going to be renting, just put the one that they would think would fit their family, right? Put that 20-foot trailer. And then for the parks to get in there, if they go down to scroll down to the bottom below the fold, as they say, you'll actually see a section that says book more campers at your park. We have all the logos of all the campground reservation systems that we're currently integrated with. Even if they don't see that, hit the list your property button, give us the information that we asked for there, which is whatever system you're on. As we aggregate more that maybe are on a system that's not there, we reach out to that system and say, okay, guys, look at all these parks that are using you that want to come on board with us. Let's have a discussion about an integration, because all of this works because of the direct API level integration. And that's how we do it.
That's fantastic. All right. So Spot2Nite made tremendous progress the last 2 years. I'm not going to wait 2 more years to get you on, though, Terry, because I think you're at a real jumping off point with the investment, but also the very hard work that your team, and congratulations to all of you, that you put in the last 2 years to make this a real go-to place for RVers and campers.
It really has been a blessing to have such a great team around us, from the developers, our marketing team, our design team on product, as well as the tech, because when everybody comes together and collaborates, that is, what is it the RVer is looking for? What are the parks looking at to present? And what is the technology there? And we bring all that together into Spot2Nite and serve that back up to the traveler. It's really just wonderful, you know. And I think the investment round, extremely successful, will help us to continue to grow and refine the product to meet the needs of the travelers and campgrounds alike.
Well said, Terry. I'll catch
Thank
up
you so
with you
much.
down the road. Thank you very much for joining us again, taking time out of your busy schedule, and we'll catch up to you soon.
Thank you so much.
Hey, everybody, welcome back to the Camper Report Show. My name is John DePietro, and her name is Heather Ryan. She's not wearing her crown right now, but she should, because she is the tax queen. And her name is Heather Ryan, as I said. It's her third appearance. It's always one of the top-rated shows that we get throughout the year. And the amazing thing about Heather Ryan is that not only does she specialize in tax returns for nomads. Is that the right word, Heather?
Yeah, digital nomads. Yeah.
People. She's been one herself. So you know what? The best way to find information about anything is to go to someone who has lived that life. And Heather, we want to welcome you back. And
yeah, thanks for having me again.
Well, it's always a great time to have you here. You know, you might say, well, this time of year, the tax season has already ended. What should I be looking for? And I think you just said briefly, always be planning for next year with keeping your tax info, right, Heather?
Yeah. Well, we'll say the current year, right? Because we're in 23. So making sure 23 is organized as you go along makes next tax season easier.
Yep. And I know that you said, you know what, you should keep track of your expenses on a either weekly or monthly basis. Don't try to do it a whole year at a time and then try to look back 50 weeks.
Yes.
But you have a whole bunch of different programs that our viewers can have access to that are of no charge to them. You want to tell us what those are so that we can?
It depends on what they're looking for. If you have a business using an accounting software, if you're looking for free, Wave is a great option. If you want to do paid, popular QuickBooks, but there are other ways to track things. If you want to go really simple, you can do a spreadsheet. That's not a problem either, especially for personal things. If you're donating to charity, you know, churches and things like that during the year, just make sure you're recording it so you don't forget. Again, if you make that donation in April, remembering that next February when you're trying to gather your documents is hard. I mean, who knows? Like, I don't remember what I ate for dinner last night, let alone what happened last month. So that's why I say to do it as you go along.
Right. And I think it's also important to note that you, how many years were you and your family on the road?
We were full-time for 5 years and we're still part-time.
So. Okay. So you're an RVer and you know the issues that RVers go through, especially, well, let me ask you this. Does it make a difference in their state taxes, what state people live in, because my guess is that me in Massachusetts and you in Colorado might have different state tax issues to become aware of. And for people that may move from, one location to another where they gained income,
Sure.
is that an issue, Heather?
Usually not. It's a loaded question. Usually not. If you're a W-2 employee, you report it based off of wherever your home or your domicile address is, unless you're physically going into an office. So I look at like traveling nurses that work in a hospital. I've seen, traveling electricians, things like that, where they go on site, in which case then you will owe state taxes. The other difference is camp hosts. So if you spend the summer in Massachusetts or the summer in Wisconsin, you're going to owe state taxes. Most likely have to file there.
Okay, so even if you even come tax season, you're not there where you were last summer, that's
correct.
Still an issue that you've got to.
Yep. So yeah, if your like home state is Texas and you spent the summer in Wisconsin 5 months, working a camp host job, you're going to have to file in Wisconsin that year.
Mm-hmm.
So,
any major issues that will take place in the tax codes in 23 that people need to be aware of right now so that they can plan for it properly?
The biggest changes really are around electric vehicles and then solar energy credits, things like that. Those are the biggest changes for 23.
Okay, can you get
I don't know how many people are doing electric vehicles if you're RVing,
right?
But it's a possibility, I suppose.
Those are what, state tax credits when you purchase them, or
Those
are
are
they credits
federal.
when you use them?
Those are
Federal.
I'm talking federal level. Yeah, they're offering credits. Yep. So
Mm-hmm.
the solar credit was extended all the way through 2032, and that's at 30%. So that's a really good credit. And then the electric vehicle energy credit really varies according to the vehicle. But
okay.
the max you can get is 7,500. They've started including used vehicles, so used electric vehicles, because you have to think about it. Some
And
of
that's
them
new.
are,
Yep.
yeah, that's brand new for 23.
Yeah. So the solar purchases, you're purchasing solar for your RV, not a stick and bricks home. That qualifies as well?
If it can be considered a house, so it has to have the sleeping, the eating, and bathroom quarters, then it will qualify. Yep.
Okay.
Including the batteries, the installation costs, the panel, the wiring, all the stuff.
Okay. Should your RV dealer have this information when you're buying it new from them, or is this something that people have to seek out somewhere else on their own?
I've never seen an RV dealer have that information.
Okay.
So
the reality is, especially people that are DIY people that are buying the solar, and they're buying it from Amazon or putting it on themselves.
Sure.
They should definitely be aware of that.
Yeah. Keep track of all your receipts and anything you buy to put that solar on, if you're doing it yourself or if you have to pay someone else, if you have to pay the labor. The other thing I see is someone might buy the equipment. We're in April, but I've seen people buy the equipment November, December, and have an appointment to install it, January, February of the next year. And the credit is taken the year that the solar system works on the RV. So even if the costs are split over 2 years, the year that it actually is working.
Yeah. Working. Any other items that have to do with people that are full-timer? I mean, specifically for full-timers now that you can think of right off the top that are
it's really mostly around business owners. So people like you lose the home office deduction when you're in a tiny space, things like that. Taking business mileage is really I'd be cautious. I basically say
red
making
flags.
sure you have a really good log. Yeah, those are red flags for sure.
Right. Because that home office space is generally, if it's used exclusively as an office, right?
Correct. Yep.
And
it's just hard.
Yep.
In a tiny RV,
yep.
What space is, dedicated 100%. There are exceptions. I've seen like toy haulers. So when someone uses the garage or a bunkhouse where they don't have kids, but they use that bunkhouse, for an office, those count. But it's a lot of times it's also such a tiny deduction that I don't know that it's worth it. So
and worth the red flag. And you said mileage is also a red flag.
high mileage is a red flag. And I say that for full-timers because there are full-timers that are, they say they're working on the road and they want to take all their business mileage. And really it's a lifestyle choice. Even as content creators, it's just, you're muddying the waters because it's your home that you're pulling either behind you if you have a trailer or in the RV, a motorhome.
Okay.
So it's a case-by-case basis. How's that? I work with my clients individually to really determine what mileage they can take and what wouldn't fly.
Yeah. So how can our people reach you, Heather, if they want to consult with you? Because the difference in the service that you provide versus going to that little cubicle in a Walmart, it's like night and day. I mean, I can't figure why anybody who's
Yeah.
gainfully employed, not necessarily employed in the RV industry, but if they're an influencer or a media person or they're a crafts person that moves from one region to another, how can they reach you, Heather?
Sure. Sorry, it's tax season. My brain is fried here. So my website is tax-queen.com, and that's probably the best way. There's a form on there if you want to get in touch. I'm on social media, so you can find me on Facebook. You can find me on Instagram. Those are probably the best ways to reach out.
And there's one other thing, just briefly, on your website says Nomad Business Academy. Describe what that is.
Sure. So that's something I'm working on currently. I'm launching hopefully this summer, and it's really just to teach the best practices when you're a business owner. So deductions, how to take them, what are taxes, legal structures and tax structures, how to read reports, like all things financial as it relates to business, but specifically for nomadic business owners.
There we go. Totally different than the RVer who is permanently living at home and camping on the weekend. So, with that being said, Heather Ryan has been our guest, and she is the tax queen. I should say tax-queen. Very important to put that dash in.
Correct.
Because you get some crazy stuff that comes up if you do tax queen.
I don't have control over that.
Yeah, exactly. Tax-queen.com. And on her website, there's so much valuable information. And if you want to consult with her directly, I'm sure that there's a form there. She mentioned that she can contact you that way. Thanks again, Heather.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Okay. This is the Kemp Report Show. My name's John DePietro. Her name is Heather Ryan.